Hey, what's up, plant people? It's Vikram here again. It's Friday. I did an episode Tuesday, two in the same week. I think this is definitely a first for us. But our guest, Dr. Jessica Tullar Caroom, who was with us on Tuesday, texted me a couple of days ago and asked if she could add a few things to the last episode. You know, when we recorded it, it was kind of in a very different time than we're experiencing now. And so there was a point she wanted to make about just the way to approach food and family and things like that maybe didn't come across in the first episode. So I said, yeah, let's do it. We'll throw a little mini episode up. So I'm not going to talk too much at the beginning here, but listen in. I will be putting some information from her in the show notes and keeping the website page updated for this episode. So if you have questions, connect with us on the Planthropology's Cool Plant People Facebook group or on the Planthropology Facebook page or on any of our social media. You can also email me at planthropologypod@gmail.com. And if there's comments, advice, thoughts that y'all have about what you're doing right now in terms of food and anything else, as we go through this whole weird thing together as a species, let me know. I would love to add some of that and maybe read some of y'all's tips and tricks and mental health ideas and gardening ideas and all of that to the beginning of the next episode. But anyway, here is a quick little update with Dr. Jessica Tullar Caroom, and thanks for being with us again. All right, well, we're back with Dr. Jessica Tullar Caroom, who y'all just heard from a few days ago, but we were texting earlier in the week, and she had some updates and stuff that she wanted to give based on our previous conversation in light of, well, the everything that's happening right now. So, Jessica, what did you want to share?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Vikram. So, I think at the time when we spoke in January, I was feeling very motivational. And I think that's where, January, a normal time of our lives before global pandemic, we may need motivation to do extraordinary things. But now we're in extraordinary time. And I would say that right now is not the time for betterment, and nobody needs to feel bad about how many vegetables they're eating or not eating. And honestly, if you are eating, that's fantastic. And if you have toilet paper, God bless us all. So check.
Yeah.
Great times.
Yes. Right.
It's definitely the time for grace and for ourselves and for others. That being said, if someone feels so motivated and would need or would want a mental lift, a pick-me-up, let's say, I highly recommend being outside. Springtime is a magical time to be outside. Even if it's just a walk around your block, you don't have to plant anything, please. It's fine. That if you are interested, what we do know actually is that a lot of people are interested all of a sudden, given our supply chain, et cetera, in maybe growing some of their own at home. So if that is you, let's figure out some resources. Obviously, there's plenty here in Lubbock. Vikram has listed several before, but we can continue to list them between the AgriLife horticulture page, the Texas Tech greenhouse page, the Lake Master Gardeners. Vikram, just jump in. Oh
yeah, no, sorry. I was just listening. You're doing good.
These are all local, right? Like resources for growing. Yeah.
Well, and I think, that's a good message, because that is interesting that I've seen, you shared an article with me earlier about how people are more interested now, probably than I don't know. I don't remember from the article, but in my own opinion, probably decades, literally decades, than we have been in growing your own food and cooking your own food. And it would be interesting. I kind of want to go in and look at some of the Google search terms on recipes and how to use different things and all of that. And I may do that and link to some of that in the show notes, because I think that'd be interesting just to see what people are gravitating towards in a time like this. But no, like you say, there's a lot of local resources on how to start a garden, on what to plant and when to plant. And the weather of the past couple of weeks is beautiful. I mean, it's been beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I were talking the other day, and like, it doesn't feel like you go outside and you stand in the yard and you mow the lawn and you wave at the neighbors or whatever.
Right.
And
Right.
like, it doesn't feel like there's like a global catastrophe going on. And it's just a really weird disconnect.
It's super strange to be outside when flowers are blooming, new life is starting. There's all of this, I mean, just uplifting things that give you hope. And meanwhile, I mean, in our area, things haven't gotten really bad yet, as far as our medical resources, et cetera. But it's anticipated to hit within the next 2 weeks or so. So it's just, I mean, it's this funny place of like, but it's so pretty. How could it be awful? Why would it was? Why is this a bad thing? So I guess the other thing. So I definitely want to share some resources on your links. I love the idea. People have asked me often about when to plant what. So I've seen a planting graph, and it has kind of for our zone, but obviously there's versions for all the different zones, kind of explaining to people between cold season and warm season crops, kind of giving an idea, because that's one of your trip ups when you're growing something is planting the wrong thing, or I should say the right thing at the wrong time.
Right.
So that's a really helpful, I think, thing. Set yourself up for success, thing to think about. And then if you're just looking at eating things and how to eat more vegetables and how to, be more whatever, I had a couple of thoughts, and one was everybody should give themselves grace and snack plate dinner. Have you ever done that, Vikram?
Snack, probably. I mean,
And so
I
it's
don't
a
know
fancy. We can call it fancy. You could even see like a cheese board dinner, right? Like
there you go.
a
Okay, yeah.
charcuterie dinner, right? But in my house, that's crackers and some cheese. I literally folded in half. I did not get out a knife, and maybe some hot vegetables, whatever, like a salami, whatever I put on a sandwich. But like tray, children, go.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Everybody get your plate, and like snack plate dinner. It's a way of clearing out the fridge. It's a way you don't have to think. Nobody turned on an oven. So I highly recommend. If you did happen to like buy something random, like that smoked salmon you intended on having at some random time, snack plate dinner, great time, great time for that. Use up that. So that's good. And then another one is, I saw this on a different blog. So if you have kids, it's especially useful. If it's just you and, one other person or maybe roommates, it could be fun. Restaurant. So you write down what leftovers you have in the fridge, and that's like the menu. And you have someone go around, preferably a small child, and who goes around and says, what would you like for dinner? Would you like this, this, or this? They get to choose from the menu, right? Feels better than just like pulling it all out or whatever. It's like restaurant, you get your choice, right? So that's fun. I personally, I don't know why it took me too long to do this. I finally wrote down a list of meals. That's what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully not too much longer with these supply chain issues. But list of meals from our fridge. Like these are things I could make today and I wouldn't have to go shopping, right? Like let's focus on what we have and not on what we don't have, right? Like, I wish I had blah, blah, blah to do whatever. So if I write down what I have, and I could still give my kids the choice. We can make all of these things. These are all of our options because I could just make them. And maybe it's different from what they would normally choose. I'm so sorry. We're not having mini corn dog muffins, whatever. I mean, out of hot dogs this week, like we're going to go with it. So, make a list of meals from your fridge. And same idea. If you hashtag fridge foraging, that's another, kind of example, right? It's kind of fun to like look and see what people have put together from their fridge, from things that, well, we didn't have this, so we substituted this, that kind of thing. So those are some ideas just to use up be efficient with our current resources, and give you power over what you have. So.
And I think that's really important. And like you say that at a time like this, and if you're on social media right now or anything, there's I'm very everyone that's listening to this probably knows by now I'm obscenely, insultingly active on social media. But like,
It's fun. Yes.
It is fun. But like, this may be a good time to, unplug from some of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because there's so much out there right now that's like really unfortunate and depressing and all of that. But it may be a good time to look at some of these resources we're talking about and find a new recipe or figure out how to do some of the things we talked about last time and like let your kids help in the kitchen. And that's something I'm struggling with because like, we're all together all the time now, all the time. And I love my son, but he's 4 and like, it can be a challenge. Right. And so I'm having to like try to, and I don't know that I've been doing a good job, but like try to check myself as I get frustrated with him trying to help in the kitchen and stuff like that. And one thing I wanted to mention, there's a lot of, you mentioned how, you walk through the grocery store and they're recovering, but there's some stuff that's still unavailable.
Yes.
And there's all this, and it's probably like this in, I would think, every community, but I know in the Lubbock community for sure, there is this big movement of like support local, buy local, eat local, all that. But I think when people hear that, most of what they go towards is, okay, I'm going to order from a local restaurant, which is great. Keep doing it.
Sure.
That's fantastic. But there's also farmers markets. There are, which I think as of right now are still allowed because they're outdoor markets and it's actually probably safer than going to the grocery store. And we've got local farms that are still growing food and still doing things. And so, I would encourage anyone listening to wherever you are, look up some of those local growers that could maybe fill all the time. I think you should do this all the time, but especially right now, that could maybe fill some of those staple gaps that maybe you're struggling with from the grocery store and things like that.
And what you're going to find, first of all, if supporting a local farmer, there's so many benefits for your local economy. It shortens the supply line. It reduces your carbon impact. I could go on and on. These now, there are markets that are having to change. There are some pivots happening within not just our area, but other markets. And farmers are advertising. I've seen a bunch all over Central Texas, harvest boxes. And so getting a box of a mix. So it's not, you kind of have to get to your place about like being cool with whatever amazingness is going to come.
Right.
So if you were thinking like, I have to make XYZ recipe and it has to have this, certain vegetable, the harvest box, probably not your friend. But what I can tell you is that farmers generally, if they are making a harvest box, they're going to make sure there's some fantastic stuff in there because it's a lot easier for them to put a box of wonderfulness together. And they're pretty affordable generally, like $25. I mean, it's not, and honestly, so that's what I paid for a one-time box from Quail Feather recently. And it's a week's worth of vegetables. Like, I can't remember. Please forgive me, Josh and Ashley. I can't remember if it was 6 pounds or 4 pounds of vegetables, but I'm telling you, like, we had broccoli tonight from them that my husband, who is not a vegetable person, but he loves me anyway. And he was like, that broccoli looks good. Ooh. And I was like, well, just roast it all. And he's like, no, we're going to save some because it's so pretty. And we're going to have some. I mean, he didn't want to give it to the children. He ate it before his enchilada. I'm telling you, man, like.
I really like your Cyrus impression, by the way. That's definitely going in this episode. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. That's definitely getting in this episode. Well, and if you're one of these local farmers that's listening to this here or anywhere, maybe a value added thing you could be doing, and I'm sure there's some doing this already, is like get on your social media and spend a little bit of time and post a little video about, okay, here's what's in this week's harvest box. Here are a few things you can do with it. Here are some resources. And I think as business, I'm a small business owner, and I think this is an interesting opportunity for us to really drive home some of those value added things.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Be cementing our position in the market. And I think that, as terrible as some stuff is, there's so many opportunities here, like for family time, for small businesses to take that pivot you were talking about and figure out different ways to do business. And I know that, it's hard for a lot of people, and unfortunately there's a lot of doors and windows shuttering right now, and stuff like that. And I don't want to minimize that, but I just think, we have in at least in certain sectors some opportunities here to but again, like your opening message, if all we do is just maintain what we've got, and just make it through it, I think that is 100% great too.
Absolutely. I've seen some great pivots, I think, from our local restaurants and bars and so forth. I think there's, some great efforts happening for our local businesses, our farmers. I mean, from talking, and I haven't talked, I think I have a sample size of 2, but anyway, I know,
it's like some of the studies we're reading right now.
Right. I know that, there was a week or 2 where those orders went down from restaurants, and good portion of their business is from restaurants. So that's a problem. But from what I understand, at least, from the small sample, they were able to still sell what they had, whether it was the market, because the market was open.
Sure.
As more market, because we don't have that many year-round growers. Right. This is the time when a lot of our growers are going to start coming online and being able to offer produce, because they are going to gear up for the downtown farmers market. Mm-hmm. I don't know timing wise, you know what I mean? There's a lot of uncertainty as to how all that's going to happen. And I would really recommend those that have not already to consider partnering with our year-round growers, because they already have customer bases. They have communication methods. They've been establishing this. So I'm seeing some great stuff. In my harvest box last week from Quail Feather, again, I had a recipe for kale chips. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the idea, right? Value add. Like, how do you include this? So I think this is a great opportunity, like you said, for some of this. I'm seeing this in other places as well, like Central Texas. Their harvest boxes sold out. This one farm I was watching. Wow. So, I mean, like, they were like, we are no longer offering this. You can still get eggs. Oh, wow. Yeah. They had sold, okay. I mean, so I think that there is a demand and an interest in supporting that local grower and shortening your path between when it was harvested and your plate. So I'm excited. I'm hoping that demand increases. I know our year-round growers are increasing their growing. So, you know what I mean? Like, hopefully we can support them in that process as they increase. So and
I agree, and I know that times are tough for a lot of us, but do what you can and where you can, and support us as you're able. And
absolutely.
So, did you have anything else you wanted to cover? I had just a couple of quick questions, but
no, those are my main messages. Grace, having the grace, and then if you're interested, let's provide some resources. So,
okay. Yeah. Well, and I guess that was my question, and you kind of have already answered it, but just like, just as, you as a public health person who does everything from gardening to epidemiology, just what would, I was going to ask, what would your encouragement and advice be? But I guess that was it. Just extend grace and all
absolutely.
of that.
I, on the other end of the spectrum, as far as mental health things, I've been listening, besides to this podcast, I've also been listening to Brene Brown's recently started podcast. And one of the first ones she did, she talked about how this time and this period, given all the shutdowns, given the situation, given the uncertainty, that there's definitely grief, a lot of grief. And how do we handle that? And grief is a process. And like, as she's talking, I was like, oh, that's what everyone's grieving. Yeah. And there's no one to grieve to. When I lose my loved one, I can grieve to, those other people. But if we've all lost something, it's hard to so it's hard to share that in a way that doesn't minimize somebody else's loss. So at any rate, I found that very valuable. I recommend, again, getting yourself, if you can, some mental health place and perspective, and
sure,
exercise and outdoors, and yes.
Yeah, sunlight and fresh air goes a long way.
Absolutely.
And if if you're so motivated to go play in the garden, pull weeds, plant some plants, more power to you. I think that's great.
Absolutely.
I know I've got lots of weeds at work that need pulling. So if I need a mental health day, I'll go do that and have something else to be angry about.
There you go.
But, so, and just to tie onto that, I think my advice would be, for what it's worth, which may not be much, but is just, as bleak as it seems, just don't give up hope. Because one way or the other, we'll get through this, and we'll support each other on the other side of it. Hopefully, and I have been very encouraged, I think, by turning off the news and looking at the way that the people I know are treating each other, and the things I see in the world that maybe we weren't doing 2 months ago, and weren't treating each other in such a way 2 months ago. And I think that if any good comes out of this, I think it'll be that maybe we focus on our families and our friendships a little bit more.
That's nice. That's nice. There's a quote. They say it's Audrey Hepburn. Forgive me. I mean, it's not like I don't know exactly these quotes sometimes. Anyway, to grow a garden is to believe in tomorrow. So that's theoretically the quote from Audrey Hepburn. And I think about that every time we plant a seed. I mean, it's like, you have to have hope. Why else would you be doing that?
Yeah, no, right. I like that. Okay.
So,
well, I think that's a good quote to kind of leave us on. To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. So
yes.
Folks, keep believing in tomorrow. The sun's going to come up. It'll be okay. And if you need help, reach out to someone. Anyone?
Absolutely.
And Jessica, anything else you want to plug? I guess we gave most of your links the other day, but if there's anything else, we can throw it in.
Yeah, we did most. I'll see if I can't come up with some things to add to the show notes for just some like basic tools that I've had people ask for. Okay.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for the update. And to all of you, thanks for listening twice in the same week, I hope, or next week or whenever you hear this. But we'll be back with you next Tuesday, and hang in there and we'll get through this.